see if we can phase in the different parks. In the meantime, I can send my bridge supervisor out there and make some recommendations on internal controls that we can implement immediately. The 3 weeks should give us enough time to look at at a toll collection system and also look at a CCTV system.
The other thing I'd like for you all to consider is allowing, and just a thought, allowing veterans free access to the park. No,
We do that already, don't we?
Did you already do that?
No. What we have right now is not free access.
It's reduced.
It's reduced, a reduced price.
Okay, you might want to consider just letting them go in, and then how about for the over 60 or 65 crowd? Do you have anything like that? You may want to consider, I don't know, and it's going to be hard to tell how much we're not making or losing, because you don't know if these cars are
All our
going
winter
in.
residents.
I was gonna say.
All our winter residents out there.
But I think during the summer, I would look at maybe reducing the 60, or put 65 and over to half price or something. And if we're doing the veterans, you're saying how much you're reducing it by $2 or something? I mean, what discount do the veterans get?
It's half price.
Half price? I think the state parks, don't they allow them to go in for free?
Why don't we check?
Check.
Yeah, for disabled
They'll give them
veterans.
a free pass, but there's a percentage of disability they have to have in order to get that free pass.
But I think
If we looked into that,
I think we need to tackle one thing at a time, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to look at controls. That bridge generates, that toll booth generates about 75% of all the money generated. Let's look at, there's 2 lanes. It can't be that expensive to do a 2-lane operation like the bridge.
I wouldn't think so, but I don't know. Can you all look at it in 3 weeks and see if you come up with a projection of what it would be I mean, this is not rocket science, guys. I'm talking the internal control may be. I mean, that may be an expensive endeavor, but we won't know. But allowing the veterans, just letting them go in when they show their little veterans ID or something, I don't think that's a big deal. Okay? Any other questions?
The only other thing would be to get a vehicle counter. And just compare how many cars drive through, you have like bumper stops that exist where we use vehicle counters.
TxDOT uses counters.
Not only TxDOT, but Sumner County does, Our Department of Transportation uses counters. Set up a counter there, find out how many cars go through every day. Find out how much it costs.
So we'll have a better picture of what's coming in.
Make it simple.
Great idea. All right. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge Javier's report?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Consent items. Are there any items any member of the court wishes to take out of order? And the travel? If we can take item 8, which is the funding source, unless you want to tell us, Pete, before we leave, what the funding source will be for the 3rd and 4th floor administration building?
Judge, item number 27, also, we're still working with the attorney on that.
Okay, you want to just table that one?
The funding source on item number 8, you should have a copy of the agenda form. $100,000 will be borrowed from Fund 900.
From what fund?
Fund 900.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's the one that we talked with the DA, okay.
Right.
Got it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to
I'd like
approve?
to pull item number 17. I just wanted to ask a question about it.
17, sir?
Yes.
Let's go ahead and ask now.
Okay.
Out of the way. Consideration authorizing final plat approval for La Cantera subdivision precinct 2, being 31.45 acres, all lot 15, block 13, the east 10 acres of lot 16, block 13, Barrera Gardens, number 3 subdivision. Ernesto? It's your item. Item 17.
What's the question? This roadway that gets to the project, Rego Road, is not a paved road. I know we've put millings on it in the past, and those are pretty well worn away now. What is this subdivision going to do for, and I know we've talked to them about and given quotes on what it would cost them if we partnered with them to pave it. How does that stand? Because if they're successful at selling a lot of these lots out here, and they build pretty expensive homes out there, the next thing, people are gonna be knocking on our door wanting to know how come they don't have a nice paved road to get to their subdivision as opposed to going through the muck and mire of, Caliche or...
Yes, sir. We discussed it with the developer, and he's willing to work with us on possibly doing they'll donate the material to the county, and we'll do the road, I guess, Caliche surface. That's a minimum requirement that the county would have on external roads from the subdivision. So it's up to the developer if he wants to upgrade. We don't force it on them, obviously, because it is a county road. But we normally try to work with them, and this is what we're trying to do now, since it's really not part of the subdivision, it's an off-site road, but we're working out something with them, trying to work out.
The only access road to the subdivision, this is in Brownsville's ETJ, they don't have any requirements on the access road to the subdivision? Because, as soon as they start building out there, they're gonna want, and the estimate we've had is like $250,000 just for materials.
And normally, the county has, the policy of the county, from what I understand, for those types of roads is if the developer wants to make that accessible to the buyers, more attractive by having a better surface road, we don't have a problem if they're willing to donate materials, and we've done it before.
Yeah.
But the county doesn't have to upgrade the road for them, that's what I'm saying, unless there's some interlocal or...
They'll come to you.
We don't have to, but when they have,
But we can change the
lots
policy
are they gonna have out
if
there?
if we need to.
36 lots?
Yes.
And these, what they're talking about are homes that are gonna be 200,000 and above?
Yeah. But we don't require the
Shortly after
subdivider.
they do that, they're gonna be knocking on the door wanting a paved road.
I understand. But that's the way that it's done, that I know of, throughout the county for all other subdivisions that come into the
Well, I
county.
don't think that's...
That are
I
off-site.
mean, that's, we can barely handle the roads we have, and now I know your point, but are the roads inside the subdivision gonna be
No,
paved?
off-site.
No, but inside the subdivision?
No, they have to be paved.
But they're not curb and gutted, right? They're just...
No, just rural sections, but off-site from the subdivision leading onto the subdivision.
Are they gonna be curb and gutter, or?
No, sir.
No?
Only the cities require,
Well, they require an ETJ too, unless they have 100-foot frontage on the lot. But these are all half-acre lots, so they're probably have 100-foot frontage or more.
I understand, I mean, there's some real exclusive subdivisions out there that sometimes are way out there from any surface road, I'm saying paved road, that sometimes they'll develop that, and the property owner or the developer will extend that road, surface it all the way through it. But we don't force it on them. If they want to do it, or do an interlocal, then we can work with them.
And we haven't done any agreed interlocal with them
No, sir.
to do materials or anything?
No, so not at this time. We approached them, and we said, if you want to do that, we can work with you, and that's the way we
I just want to know who to tell these people to go see when
Well, I think
they start
that,
complaining.
I remember some discussion some years back about having either us or the developer tell the buyer of the lot that this is a gravel road, there are no plans to pave it in the immediate future, and let them know, that way they can't say, well, you know what, we didn't know the developer said that it'd be paved within a year because the commissioner told me it was, and you never said anything. There's got to be something that we let, and I don't believe in the concept, let the buyer beware, but I think in this case, I think we have a duty to the people who are going to buy the lot to let them know.
And we can
What we can do, Judge,
we can
maybe is put a
require
note on the
on the
plat.
subdivision plat that the developer notifies people in writing, and they get a copy of that.
And we will have to
But
note
how do we know
on the plat.
that can
Well,
happen?
if we do that,
Let me tell you
but
one
then-
thing.
Whether it happens or not, it's a different thing.
One thing as recent as Friday of last week, Line 17 Road in San Benito, and I know that we've been through it, for a few days now.
Yes, sir.
Same type of situation. The county gave a developer, because it was a county road, unimproved dirt road, and the county maintains those roads. And that's what the letter says. The county does maintain Line 17 road between Williams Road and Lovett, or whatever it is, you know. So Friday, I have the lady that built this new home on Line 17 road and her husband come in, and exactly as you say, John, it's a dirt road. It's been raining a lot, okay? Her husband has health issues. The ambulance might not be able to go in. She will get deployed Friday of this week to the armed forces, and he's staying home taking care of the 2 young children. And what is the county gonna do for her? Because she has a letter that says that we will maintain the road. Her idea of maintaining the road means gravel and, you know, doing everything. Right away, or not right away, but, yeah, right away department's idea of maintaining the road is, blading it and keeping it, you know, somewhat level.
And the county's very good at that. I think if there's some areas that, if it's already dense, in other words, already population there,
Well-
the county will go out there and...
Yeah, but
what we're
the
gonna
issue will be is...
We're gonna have 36 houses in this one
Well, I
subdivision.
understand.
Granted, right now, we don't have many along that road already. There's about 4 or 5.
I understand.
But when you have this subdivision of 36, you're gonna have lots of them.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a combination of developer and the county agreeing to something, and
Ernesto.
for both benefits, I mean, to benefit both, I guess, and we can do that, but we can't force it on them.
But the city, it's in the EDJ area, right?
Yes.
The city of Brownsville?
Maybe when we
Did they
issue
not
building permits?
Well,
ask them about street assessment and,
no, because the county is more stringent, you always go with the more stringent, or who has the most stringent requirements. The county on roads, as far as rural sections, we control the roads leading on to subdivisions. The city has their own ordinances and their own requirements, and they require curb and gutter and pretty much everything else, sidewalks, and depending what city it might be,
but even if it's a county road, well,
No,
I'm
but
going by
Can
what
the
I
county
know.
require,
we don't have statute.
there's no requirement legally that allows us to require?
In my opinion, I don't think
So
it is.
then,
I'm not a legal...
that answers the question.
Yes, we
There
don't
is
have
no
a,
legal
stuck.
statute for it, or...
There's gotta be something, I believe, that we can do to give the buyer, prior to them buying the lot, that...
Proper notice.
and notice that this is a county-maintained road, and define what maintaining means. And maintaining may just be grading it, maybe just leveling it, maybe just putting more dirt on it, but maybe we need to do a better job as far, in terms of defining.
But who polices that?
Well, it's not so much, well, that's what I'm saying, it's somehow we have to...
The title companies?
Well, we have to
No.
incorporate it somehow, in, maybe with the developer. I mean, I don't know, I mean, I think we're just throwing ideas out, but maybe require every developer, when they sell a lot,
Let me look into it and see what the
and,
county
you know, it's like you
can...
have, you know, all this
legally do
other
and-
information that you
Okay.
gotta sign off when you have a closing, maybe just like an addendum to it, so you live on a rural road that may or may not be paved in the next 10 years, or whatever the time frame is.
Or could you statutorily attach something to that particular subdivision that already has that issue, such as yours, John, for advising of those lot
Yeah.
buyers?
Sure. But there's nothing on our regulations that says anything in regards to that. We can add regulation, and I think the court can do that. It has the authority to add policy or...
at least to
or
inform them.
regulation, but we don't have anything in effect. But again, I don't know how you can force somebody to build a road, or upgrade a road onto a subdivision when it's really our road, the county's road, for us to operate and maintain, provided that we have the means, I'm saying, the resources.
I
You know,
guess-
just a real quick calculation here, if all those lots are sold and the average house is $200,000, you said it's gonna cost $250,000 to pave this road, the ad valorem on those 36 houses is about a little under $25,000 based on our existing tax rate. You know, and it's even less than that because, well, no, it'd be that.
Well, they may get, they may
It'd
be
be significant.
65, they may get,
Yeah,
you know,
maybe
all
that.
sorts
So
of things.
it would take more than 10 years for us to amortize
Just the material
Yeah,
cost.
just the material.
That's just the
And then
material
one penny of the total rate is road and bridge, the rest is county
So it'd be a lot less than that, it'd be like less than $3,000.
$2,500. a year.
I think all we're trying to do is resolve a problem before we get hit in the face with it.
No, it is an
That-
issue, and, yeah,
Well,
if
I
you want
guess
us to
I've
look
just-
into it, we can do that.
I guess I've just been lucky because the people, the buyers, I'm like you, David, I got calls last week and one on, yesterday on Orphanage Road and a lot of other subdivisions that are going up, and I've been able to, and I've just told these people, I don't even have that on my list. There's no homes there, and we're not, and I'm just upfront with them, they're not happy, but we have to be honest with them. And just say, we are not paving that road probably, for 5-10 years. I've got a list over here that these people have been waiting for 20 years. But it is a problem. It's a
Can you
big
come up with
problem.
something, Ernesto, just
Let me
a
look into it, and
suggestion?
I'll bring something
Kind of
back to
work it out
the
with
court or
Pete, but
something.
it's gotta be something that, it's not so much that has any teeth to it, it's more that
But
the
at
buyer recognizes before they buy the lot, that they're gonna live on a gravel road, and it may or not be paved for 5 to 10 or forever. We don't know that.
Buyer beware.
Yeah, something like that.
We'll look into it, and we'll bring it back to you.
In red letters.
Okay, all right. Do I hear a motion to approve, do I hear a motion to approve all the consent? Yeah, Roger. I'm sorry, 28B? What do you want to do with it?
And what? I'm
So
sorry.
include you, in other words,
Okay.
Roger.
Okay.
All right, if I have can I have a motion for the consent items 3 through 27, tabling item 27, and all the travel items, adding the elections administrator to 28B. Do I have a motion for approval by
Second.
Commissioner Gatsa? Second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. Executive session. We have 5 items. Item A, deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 29 for right-of-way of FM 732 pursuant to Code Section 551.072. Item B, deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 10 for right-of-way for Dixieland Road pursuant to Code Section 551.072. Item C, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning authorization to retain outside counsel to represent Cosme Martinez and other individual defendants in civil action number 07-CV-52, Javier Alejandro Garza versus the U.S. Marshal Service, Cameron County Sheriff's Department, Cosme Martinez, Michael David Saavedra, Sergeant Jose Alejandro Garcia, John Roy Harris, Jose Ibarra, and Leticia Andrade, individually and their official capacities pursuant to Code Section 551.071A and 2. Item D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Peter A. Villarreal versus Cameron County, cause number 2007-CCL-1154-B, for discussion and authority to represent as necessary pursuant to Code Section 551.0711A. Lastly, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Julia Castro versus Cameron County Sheriff's Department, EEOC charge number 451-2007-000743 for discussion on status of case and possible settlements pursuant to Code Section 551.0711A and B. Item A, deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 29. Do I hear a motion to pay the appraised value
$1,690.
of $1,690?
Yes, sir.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item B, deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 10 for the right-of-way for Dixieland Road. Do I hear a motion to authorize the payment of the appraised value totaling
$50,489.
$50,489?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second by Commissioner Benavides? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item C, Confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning authorization to retain outside counsel to a whole bunch of people. Do I hear a motion? Is this the one that we're going to do all, just deny the hiring of outside counsel?
Hiring outside
Move for the
counsel.
county to deny hiring outside counsel.
Second.
Okay, for all the people mentioned,
No, you're just doing it for the one.
Just for the one.
which
For
was,
Jose,
Cosme Martinez.
Oh, just,
that one.
okay, no, the other ones we're going to authorize that they hire outside counsel? No.
No, they
No.
just haven't requested anything yet.
Okay. So then let me hear a motion to deny hiring of outside counsel for Cosme Martinez.
so moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a
Second.
second by Commissioner Tamayo? Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Peter A. Villarreal versus Cameron County.
Move to acknowledge report of counsel.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo to acknowledge report of counsel. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Julia Castro versus Cameron County. Do I hear a motion to authorize legal counsel to proceed along the terms and conditions as discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood. Do I have a second by Commissioner Gatsa? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 31, budget amendments, line item transfers, and/or salary schedules.
We don't
That's all we have, right?
Yes, and there was
Is that
an
it?
additional sheet in front of you, starting with Public Works,
Public Works and County
County
Clerk.
Clerk, and Sheriff Doug Forfeiture.
Sure.
And there was no salary schedules this week.
Javier, I don't have it.
Where's that?
I don't know what you're talking about, Javier.
Yeah, it's right here. Here, so one
No,
here,
oh,
no?
it's not it. That's from this
Oh,
morning.
this one right here? Yes. The little
Is
one.
that it? This one?
Yeah, Public Works, County Clerk,
okay.
Judicial, and
Oh,
Sheriff's
he's got
Office.
one. I need one, Javier.
Forfeiture.
Maybe a picture of subject.
Move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa to approve there are no salary schedules, but budget amendments.
Second.
Line item transfers, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 32, approval of minutes for June the 12th, 2007. Has the court had the opportunity to look at the minutes and review them?
Move for approval?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Approval of county claims. Do I hear any additional claims, Rob? Do I hear a motion to approve the county claims as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second? By Commissioner Gatsa. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Please note my abstention on 3, Los Fresnos, Harlingen Waterworks, and BISD, I think. Item 34, discussion regarding the fiscal year 2007-2008 budget and tax rate.
Judge and Commissioners, this is, I guess, a continuation of discussion this morning. I guess let me begin with in relation to the tax rate and the tax revenues. I had passed out this packet, I left it in front.
Is that the one that starts with general
General fund, correct. Those were the most current numbers that I had, I guess, prior to the starting of this meeting. I got informed by the tax office that the reports from the appraisal district on the certified totals, there was separate sheets. There was one that gave you the totals, certified totals, another one with the values that were under review, and then, of course, the supplement for the most current 2006 totals. On the worksheets that they had prepared initially, the values that are under review are currently in the certified totals, but in the worksheet they were being added again. So those values need to be backed out, and they're going to resend the certified totals reflecting that. So what I'm showing as far as revenues were based on these assumptions or the information that I had.
Are you
and it's
talking
gonna be-
about on the total additional revenue at current tax rate?
Correct.
3.2 million? That
yeah.
number's gonna go down?
It's gonna go down. I'm not sure exactly how much yet, but it is gonna go down.
Okay, why don't we kind of walk us through
Yeah.
to the right-hand column. We can start, if you'd like, with the, we talked about this morning about the 2.2 in the hole,
Correct.
but it's really 2.7 because we had not added the cost associated from the DA's office
Correct,
to the
two
new courts. So we start off, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So that jumped up to 2.7.
And the 775 is new, that's the new money really, not the 1.2, right?
Correct. And that's the new money based on the effective rate that I had
Effective rate.
calculated, but
Gotcha.
that's going to change also.
And the 3.2, that number you say is gonna go down, but we don't know by how much?
No.
Well, then why are we looking at this if we don't know how much?
Well, because
They called me like at 4:45, and the appraisal district was gonna send new numbers, and I already had this prepared.
Well, I think,
So,
what I'd like to see, because assuming this $3.2 million is a good number, it shows on the right-hand column that we have $452,756 of available money, assuming we keep everything the same, we fund prior year's operations, assuming that the toll transfer from the bridge system is what it is,
correct.
it's gonna go down?
Yes, it's budgeted as a decrease in
Okay?
transfer rate.
So if anything, what it's gonna do is if this $3.2 million is going to go down, that means that we're not gonna have $452,000 available. It's gonna be a little bit uglier picture,
A little bit.
okay? We don't know what it is,
Yeah,
but
we
let's
don't know what
assume, let's assume for now that the $3.2 million is gonna be a good number, even though we know it's gonna go down, but at least walk us through, and then, this is, I think, is this a summary of all the requests that we've had through today?
Well, not of the total requests. These were the ones in the workshops that we
That we talked
had,
about.
that the court had talked about or shown an interest
Okay.
in actually funding.
But doesn't include this morning.
No, other than the DA's, what we're going to have to do for the courts.
So
Now,
this
what is,
does
I
not
apologize,
include
it
the
is,
health department, does not include the sheriffs, it doesn't include
the only thing it does include at the very bottom is the extra $1,000 for the
For
jailers.
everybody.
For the jailers.
For the jailers,
For
okay.
the jailers.
That's the only thing that's here. So if we start, excuse me, at the top, the salary increases at $1,000 across the board, or to per
We're
slot.
looking, Javier,
Oh, is that-
let me make sure. We're looking at what you handed out just now?
Just now,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, I'm fine.
You might want to point to it with a little thing on the deal, might move it up a little bit so we can see the bottom line of $1.8 million deficit. You move it up a little bit? There you go, there you go. And then just kind of point to where you're at, that might help us see this.
Okay. If we start here with the deficit, and then with the additional revenues, just on the new money, we were still at a deficit of 1.9, because that was only going to generate $775,000 at the effective rate. At our current tax rate, with the values that I had, it would generate $3.2 million in additional revenue to the general fund.
Can you get the microphone a little bit closer to you? 'Cause- thank you.
To the general fund only. So in the end, we'd end up with a surplus of $452,000 without funding any of the requests that have been presented to the courts so far.
At all?
What is, correct. What is included is, of course, what I handed out earlier today as far as the expenditures for the increases in appointed attorneys for child welfare, the 8% increase for the indigent health care, and the other items that were listed there already. These are the requests below that that the court has shown interest in. $1,000 increase per slot to the general fund is inclusive of the elected officials. With that total is just over $33,000. Is a total of almost $1.4 million. The $8 per hour, it will cost the general fund $63,000. Now, the judge had stipulated it was a kind of an either or, the $8 or the $1,000, whichever is greater. So there's an offset there, but I don't have that yet. I have to go through all the slots and figure out what that would be.
But it's not a big-ticket item.
No, it's not going to be a big ticket item. Earlier today, what was discussed was reversing the commissioner's split between the general fund and road and bridge, going from 20% general fund, 80% road and bridge, and flipping that. And also, in speaking with the judge earlier, was just for the secretarial position, split that 50-50 between general fund and road and bridge. And so that's an additional $168,000 to the general fund, and of course that would be a savings in road and bridge of the same amount. The court had looked at providing secretaries and increasing the one half-time secretary for precinct 6 for all the constables. That's a cost of just over $107,000. And those slots are all at $8 an hour. Excuse me. The JP Court, the request of converting the part-time to full-time, the reclassification by Judge Wise for his court assistant 1 to court assistant 2, and the new position for JP 5-1. What there was some discussion, and I have this here, was the trying to get the court administrator, the JP court administrator, on par with the district court court administrator, and this is getting halfway there. So what that does, it'll increase. Currently, the court administrators are at $37,000. The JPs, and this is rounded, the JPs are at $29,000. So this will get them halfway there, and this includes fringe benefits for the 11 JP courts.
This does include all fringe benefits?
Yes, all of these totals include fringe benefits. I apologize, so I just clarified that. Then there was the county clerk's request for the San Benito office, the manager position that he was requesting, and then the half-time that he has converted it, or that's being split presently between his office and the tax office. And of course, picking up that half, of course, we'd have to do the same in the tax office side, so that's a total of almost $60,000. Then the juvenile probation, excuse me, the psychologist picking up the funding that they would be losing, and the ISP officers. The extra $1,000 on top of what's listed up here on top for the jail slots with fringe is $312,000. So that's this of the request is a total of just over $2.3 million, which leaves a deficit of almost $1.9 million for these requests only, not for all the other requests that have been submitted to the court by other departments.
Well, the 1.8, almost $1.9 million does not include really any of the activity with the exception of the additional jail slots. I mean, the additional $1,000 for the jail people that we talked about today, right?
Right.
Then it includes 2 new district courts, fully staffed.
That's correct.
Yes.
Well, we have to. I mean,
Well, I think we ought to get a legal opinion
Not if we don't fund it.
In reference to what?
in reference to whether
the 2
we
courts?
need to open 2 courts now. I mean, when we went into the courts, we knew that we were interested in having 1 court, which is somewhat funded already because we had that court operational. And I don't see where do you pull out the funds that we're already expending in that 1 court?
Actually, it is in that total. I can provide it to you. I don't have it here. There is the offset of the current associate judge, his salary, that's being reduced by the total cost. There is the court administrator, that salary that's being reduced.
So you're reducing it in the general budget?
Well, it's within the total of the new court. When I have
that's a net number.
Yes, that's net of the savings.
Yeah, so it's
Because
at that top figure.
Yes, it is. It's more than that. And of course, what I have here is also setting the salaries equal to current staff, which would be whatever supplements we're providing currently to the district judges. I have that factored in, which would be the auto allowance. They have to get the juvenile board. There is, last year, there was a request, because there was a gap between what the state was paying them and what the maximum they could make. So the court funded, it's $3,700, I believe, $3,750 for each district judge. I have that plugged in right now for the two new courts also. The court could, the commission could always decide, something different with that. I also have the court reporter coming in at the same salary at the current court reporters in the district courts. There is the difference between the county courts and the district court, so I have that at that level also. So those are things.
Do we have a court reporter now in that court?
Yes. So for the two courts, I have one court reporter, an additional court reporter.
But what are the expenditures totally right now as it stands that we operate family court with?
The family court, let me see if I have it. Because all of the district court's budgets are lumped into one account, the only thing that I can easily pull out is the salary portion, which is the judge and the court administrator. The court reporter is actually...
So the family court is lumped into the district courts right now as they stand?
Yes, and the court reporter and the court bailiffs are actually shared between family court and juvenile court at the present time.
And why could they not continue?
Well, because it's my understanding that the court is not going to be limited to the cases that they can hear anymore, or to family court. It's not going to be general jurisdiction, so the criminal cases can now be assigned to that court. Initially, when I had the numbers, and I was under the impression that it was strictly going to be a family court, I didn't have any funds for appointed attorneys, but since now it's general jurisdiction, I had to add funding for that, and that was changed when the legislation was passed. So they could try to do it, but now, the caseload should be, I would think, greater than just when it was family court. I guess it depends on what's getting assigned to that court. But yeah, the question is, as far as the statute as to when it's funded and if we have it funded.
A legal opinion as a commissioner's court, whether we had to fund both courts now?
What was the information that...
I think we can ask for whatever we want. I just don't, in speaking to the governor's appointments guy a month ago, he was going to talk to the AG and find out, but he seemed to think that we had to fund both courts. He didn't say when, but I'm sorry?
What if we don't have any money?
Well, the point is that you do have money. You have the ability to cut or raise taxes, so they're going to tell you that. I mean, I don't know what the consequences would be if we didn't fund it. But you know what? We asked for this. We asked for the two courts, and but I know it got all kind of snookered by the time it came out of the Senate. But Rene did the right thing. He asked for it the right way, but as I mentioned last week, when it came out of the Senate, it was all different. We didn't have a family court.
When it was signed, it was all different.
When it came out of the governor signed what came out of the Senate bill. That's what he signed. That's what came out.
Yeah, but there's a conference committee between the Senate.
Well, I don't know. I'm just telling you what he signed.
The Senate doesn't decide what they want to do without approval from the House.
Well, apparently that's what happened. Okay, or maybe somebody concurred with it. I'm just telling you what happened. The bill is going to be signed, and my understanding is that we have to fund it. Now, if we don't fund it, that's fine. Take $1 million off. Now we're only short $900,000, or less than that. But
we don't know.
No, we don't know.
We don't know at this point.
I think as David's pointing out, what we originally asked for was a family court in 2009, or a family court family.
That's right.
In 2009, and then a criminal court in 2011.
That's correct.
2009,
and
okay.
Apparently, there is a House Bill 1 that might give us latitude not to fund it until that time, and that's where I think we need to be looking.
I guess we can do that. I mean, obviously, but I think we have to go with what we know now. And if it, you know, between now and the budget adoption, something changes, then we can change that. But for now, this is what we have.
Because I'd rather invest those dollars in folks that are already working versus starting something new that we can get by and delaying, or not delaying. We had planned to start this court in those years.
And at that time, we had, I think, the agreement of the district judges.
Right.
To set it up that way, so.
But the fact remains that it's, you know, in Austin, something else happened. It's as simple as
But
that.
also, I think House
You know,
Bill 1
we said one thing
allows
here,
us
and it
the
changed when...
latitude to make a decision on when we fund it.
On the funding part.
And that's where we need to get some clarification.
I'd like some clarification. I'd like to see
Yeah.
something written to me before we decide to insert $1.3 million into our budget.
Me too.
Me three.
And if somebody's held in contempt of court, right?
That ain't gonna be me.
The county judge is the one.
That ain't gonna be me.
It's the judge that would...
Guarantee you.
have the control.
Okay, let's assume for a moment that these are the right numbers, okay? And then we've got to come up with one point, and this is, again, and this is for the folks that made their presentations this morning. There's nothing there for them. There's nothing.
Correct, yeah, that's assuming that the court approves or still wishes to continue with these items here, which would be the secretaries, the full-time, the part-time, you know, that hasn't been formally approved by the court. It was just kind of an interest in doing that, funds permitting. So,
Okay, well then, give us the, for next week, give us what your budget projection, assuming that we can do what the court agreed to do in terms of funding it in '09. Well, then it doesn't have any effect. We don't, you
Right.
take off the $1 million off of here, whatever the number is. I don't think that's what's gonna happen. I can pretty much tell you that the governor's going to appoint somebody before the end of the year, and once they make the appointment, I believe we're gonna have to fund it. I may be wrong, but, and I don't, Sylvia, I don't know if you need to call somebody with, you know, somebody. Okay? And let's find that out. I think we need to prepare for the worst, and if it doesn't happen, fine. We're okay, but I think we need to prepare. We have to assume there's gonna be $1.8 million, and from there, we need to start whittling it down as to where this money's gonna come from to do that. So I will tell you that we need to figure out how, bless you, how we're going to, if we're gonna do all these things that are up in that you're talking about, with the JPs or the constables. Now, if we choose not to do anything, no raises for anybody, we just go, then we're okay. We just don't do anything, we can adopt the budget tomorrow. I don't think that's what the court wants to do. I think there's some money out there, we talked about this auto theft issue. You know, there's, how much, 500,000? Pete, do you remember on the auto theft?
yeah, it's $500,000.
$500,000 that, you know, that we can, you know, put that back into the general fund. You know, that was intended for a certain use. That's not what's happening anymore, so maybe we need to revisit that. We may want to look at the magistrates again. That's $160,000 that maybe we need to call the JP, say, you know, JPs, you all need to cover this. And I'm just throwing things out, unless somebody else has some other ideas of where else we may need to look at cutting. The only other option is to raise taxes. And I will tell you that I will not vote to raise taxes when I know we can find cuts from within. It may hurt some people, may get some people politically upset, but, you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. Okay? So what do you all want to do at this point? Just kind of acknowledge Javier's report. Hopefully by next week, we'll have more information on the courts. Pete, I want you to sit down with Javier and go over some of these things. If we could have every major department, the sheriffs, the county clerk, tax assessor, district clerk, and everybody across the board cut 3%, 3.5% off their budget, I think we can make it. So.
On total budget?
Total budget, well, if the general fund budget is 62 million, you know, 3% is 1.8.
Yeah, of total, but including salaries.
Yes.
Including salaries.
You know, and they either come up with a budget cut or, you know, or somebody on this court will make a recommendation as to budget cuts. Okay?
Very well.
You want to talk about road and bridge a little bit?
When you get the figures, the new and improved figures, would you
I
please?
should have them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Make sure,
They're
yeah.
supposed to forward it to me.
You know what, I'd like to have every member of the court, I mean, as soon as you have something, email it to them.
Yes, and,
So they know, so they have the latest updated numbers, so there's no surprises when y'all come here, you haven't seen the number, and, you know, okay? Let's do that.
Yes.
You want to talk?
Road and Bridge, it's not as bad. Revenues to expenditures, I've mentioned this morning, there is an increase in both revenues and expenditures. There's actually a shortfall of $164,000. The new construction at the effective rate generates $79,000, which isn't much, so it leaves $85,000. At the current rate, generates $361,000, leaves a surplus of $196,000. Also, if the court approves the switching of the salaries, that's an additional $168,000. You'll cover your deficit, and you still have funds available, you know, to do the $1,000 per slot increase. It doesn't bump up the road materials a whole lot, but it will do it some. So that's where Road and Bridge stands at the present time. I was also on the agenda item to discuss the effective and rollback rates and present those to the court so we could get ready for publication on that, but since this changed, I don't have the correct values, so I can't present those to you at this time. There'll be, as soon as I get those, I'll have it this week and then forward it to the court. There is an item, the next or the one after, in relation to the publication that are required, the required publications for the setting the tax rate and the budget. So as soon as I have that, I'll forward it to the court. The form is standard and regulated by statute, so it's just the actual numbers. If I have it in time for this Sunday's publication, it'll run in Sunday. If not, it'll be the following week. As I have those ready, I'll forward those to the court before they are published in the newspaper, as they're ready.
Those are just factual numbers. They're not anything that we have to approve or anything.
The only ones where there is a requirement, they will be placed on the agenda beforehand, where there's a required vote or...
So what's going to change on the last page is the effective rate and the rollback rate.
Yes.
That's going to change.
Yes.
The current is the same.
Very good.
Really,
That's going to change.
I'm glad I have a CPA next to me.
Well, I got a pharmacist, man. I swear. All right. Anything else, Javier?
In relation to that, no, not at this time.
Okay, any questions from any member of the court? Do I hear a motion to acknowledge Mr. Villarreal's presentation?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second by Commissioner Benavides? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 35, consideration possible action regarding the publishing of elected officials' compensation for the 2007-2008 fiscal year.
Judge and Commissioners, there was, the actual notice was in the backup, and actually on the agenda item, there was the calendar in relation to the final approval of the elected official salaries. What you see there is the current compensation, which is salaries, auto allowance, full allowance, and in relation to the judge, the juvenile board supplemented by statute. Currently, they're at the current rate. On this, there is no proposed increase here. I'm here to get direction from the court as the maximum that the court would consider. This does not actually set their salaries. This just notifies the public this is the maximum that the court is going to consider. It sets the public hearing date for August the 14th, which would give the public input, or I guess the elected officials if they wanted, to the court. On that date, the court would actually set the elected officials' salaries, and it would start the timeline in order for them to receive notice, and if they wanted to grieve, to submit that grievance, and then set the grievance hearing and have that go before the grievance committee, if anyone does, and then after that, bring it to the court with their recommendations and for the court's final decision on that.
How does we talked this afternoon about reviewing all the car allowances as part of a potential savings and just having everybody just do mileage reports and turn in mileage to get reimbursed. How does that affect the car allowances that are currently being provided to the elected officials, if they're going to be, if they're going to be asked to do the same thing as everybody else?
Yeah, at this point, you would eliminate the auto allowance, and then we'd have to add funds or transfer from auto allowance, the actual line item allowance, to travel, because that's when people submit their mileage reports on a monthly or quarterly.
No, but my question is, let's say if someone is getting a $5,400 car allowance, what we post would be the maximum compensation, right? We can always come back off of it?
Well, except for, auto allowance is not a grievable item. It is.
I understand.
Okay, so, you could back off, or you could change the auto allowance, right? It's just not grievable.
No, but my question is, when you publish the amount, would you...
You could set it less than that, yes.
Yeah, in other words, you could go ahead and publish it the way it is right here, right?
Yes.
Just to get it published. But then we can always come back, and if we decide to review everybody's car allowances to save us, $100,000 or so, and make everybody do a mileage reimbursement, we can still do that within this? Okay.
Up to when you actually set the compensation on the 14th. After that, it was...
September or August?
August.
Okay. But for the terms of publication, though, we can...
Yes, this is the maximum.
That's the maximum. We can always bring it down, but we can't bring it up.
You can't go above that. You can go below.
Okay, I got you. And now the 14th of August, is that like the 45-day threshold before the fiscal year end, or why is the 14th of August a magic number, magic date?
In relation to the calendar, basically the calendar works backwards.
Okay.
Because you have to have it done by the time you adopt the budget. So, and I have it done the week when we do the final changes to the budget, which is, I have it here, September the 11th, I believe. So you go backwards because you have to have a week's notice in order to, by the time you receive the final grievance, and of course give you time to actually get the grievance committee, to get enough members to agree to serve on the grievance committee so you can hold the hearing. If you go backwards, the actual elected official has 5 days after they've received notice of what their salary has been set to grieve. So that pushes you farther back. And then this notice, it's a 10-day requirement, so that pushes us back to August the 14th. So if you start at the end and come backwards, this is the date that we have to have the public hearing to give the ample and the settings of the salaries, to give them notice in order to submit the grievance, and when we get that, in order to have the grievance committee hearing, and then set the salaries.
I'd asked Javier this afternoon, we were looking at where we could potentially find some savings within our budget, to look at everything, look at, all these, look at the car allowances and see if it makes more, now that we bumped it up to, you're going to bump it up to 44 cents, 45 cents per mile?
Equal to the IRS rate.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
I just make everybody work a little bit harder and do their mileage reimbursement reports, and if it's higher, it's higher. I mean, it is what it is. Just to see if we could honestly save some money. At $5,400, at the old rate of 25 cents, these folks have to be driving more than 21,000 miles per year. And I seriously doubt if some of these folks are driving 21,000 miles per year. So that's just another option. If we don't go with that, that's fine, but we need to have as many options out there as possible so we can try to, start chipping away at this thing.
I know when we had the JPs here, they were requesting an increase.
Yeah.
in their car allowance. Because it translates to, what, $450 a month, right? 5,400 divided by 12,
Who was requesting that, David?
the JPs.
Oh, the JP.
You know, it's
Yeah, no, you're
$450 a
right.
month.
I mean,
That'll fill you up a few times nowadays.
well, but, you know, and we realize this, but, you know, we're having to deal with a lot of red numbers here, and everyone's gonna have to pony up a little bit. I mean, if it means us not getting something and the rank and file getting something, that's fine, but, I mean, everyone's gonna have to pony up, and I respect elected officials, but I'll tell you what, an elected official, it's the only position that you have a guaranteed job for 4 years. You know, you can't be fired unless you break a law or something, but, unless you have, you know, when all this pans out, unless any member of the court has other recommendations that, you know, bring forward, I mean, this is just strictly for discussion. I mean, let's talk about what's out there. But I don't think anybody here, you know, I think raising the tax is probably the last frontier, in my eyes, you know, to do that. But just see what happens. I mean, just see where we go. We have a long ways to go. Okay?
So, what is the maximum?
I think you leave it the way it is. I think
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what y'all want to do, but from my perspective, you post exactly what you have here.
Current salary.
And if an elected official wants to come and grieve before the grievance committee, and, I mean, they have every right to do so.
Okay.
The unfortunate thing, employees don't have that same luxury, and that's what the downside is. Unless y'all have some other ideas, unless you're, you know, speak now or wait till they go through the grievance. But I would suggest that we post what this is, you know.
Do you want to not consider posting with the 1,000 increase?
Yeah, we can do that with the 1,000 increase.
That way, all of those elected officials, if we find the money to fund
Give
everyone.
everybody, then they get the same. That's, you know, don't include me in there, and I don't know about you all, but don't include me in the $1,000.
Can we, ask that ours be transferred to
No,
somewhere else?
it's just $1,000 that they'll be left over. I mean,
Well, but
to be spent
$1,000 is
someplace else.
$1,000 for someone.
Well, we need to give them some direction tonight. Add the $1,000 to all the elected officials. I will speak for me and say no. Commissioner Tamayo?
I wanted to transfer mine to one of the foremen, but you say that I can't. So I decline mine.
I don't think you can do that.
Why?
Well, because you'd have to post $1,000 that you're gonna get it and then cut a check to them somehow. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've never seen that happen before. I don't
Well,
know.
you know me, I usually do things
No,
that
I
no
always
one else
think
has ever
outside the
done.
box. I can see that already. Well, let me skip Commissioner Gatsa,
As is.
as is. Commissioner Wood?
You know, the only question... the
Okay,
only question
everyone's
is-
fine except for Commissioner Tamayo, she's thinking.
No, well, I'll decline unless I can do that. If I can do that, and I guess legal would have to help me with that.
Well, for now, let's, you know, we'll find that. I mean, we'll figure that out. But for now, I mean, David, you're a nay?
You're wondering why I'm doing that, John?
No, no.
Oh, because
Okay,
I'd be
that's a
glad to
nay,
tell you.
nay.
Nay.
So, nobody on the court, okay?
Okay. And $1,000 increase for all the other slots.
Everybody else, yes.
Put it on.
Okay, anything else? Do I hear,
So moved.
I hear a motion to acknowledge, well, no, it's the action to post as presented, including $1,000 for all the elected officials with the exception of the county commissioner's court. Move to approve by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 36, consideration authorization to publish public notices as required within the time requirements and format as stated in the property tax code for the setting of the fiscal year 2008 tax rate. You want to table this because you don't have the information yet?
No, if you could go ahead and just give me authorization to publish them as they come due, I will.
Do I hear a motion by Commissioner by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides? All in favor? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 37, discussion and possible action regarding vehicle video recorders previously approved on current year's equipment list.
Judge and Commissioners, attached was the listing, except for Constable Precinct 6, that one shouldn't be there. Those were actually radars, not videos. There was vehicle video recorders that had been requested by the departments listed here, and they were approved. Originally, the pricing that was submitted by the departments was for VHS technology, where they have the cassettes, they stick it into the VCR in the back of the car and it records. I guess during the process of when the departments were getting quotes from vendors, the discussion came about to where the digital technology would probably work better for them. There's representatives from the sheriff's office actually, and I believe one of the vendors is here. If you have questions in relation to that, there is, of course, converting from VHS to digital is more expensive. The units are more expensive, and then there's the upfront cost of purchasing an actual server to store all this video. So I placed it on the agenda for the court's consideration to see if they would be interested in going that route or just to keep it as is with the VHS technology. The difference between the two, without getting to the exact specific dollar amount, because the method of purchasing is not part of this agenda item, is an additional approximately $160,000 on top of this.
Javier, how much does this, what does this do to our annual amortization or lease payments? What does it do? Have you already factored this into what we talked about a few months ago?
This has not, because they have not been purchased yet. But it was approved on the original list, and it was factored into that.
Okay.
How much is 99,000?
Well, if you back out the constables, that one's 13, so it's about $86,000.
86 was factored in.
Yes.
85 too. Okay.
So and these are done probably on a 3-year term, I would think, and I think right now we're getting 4.5%, 5%, something like that on the financing. Apologize.
3 or 5?
Rob, on the video cameras, those are 3 years, 5 years? 3 years? 3 years.
And you're saying there's an additional 170,000 needed?
Yes.
Besides this?
Correct.
To go from VHS?
Yeah, to convert to digital. And I guess either the departments or the vendor can explain the difference in the enhancements that it has if the court...
Well, I'm sure it has good enhancements, but do we have the 170 that you need?
Correct.
Would that also be on a 3-year plan as well?
Yes, it would be the lump sum because since we haven't...
But that was not factored in.
That part was not, no.
That's under 57,000 plus.
Yeah, per year.
To add to our budget here.
Well, he says it goes into, it's not in the equipment, it's a lump sum expense.
No, I apologize. It does get financed.
No, it does.
It'll get financed over...
If it's 3 years, it's 57,000.
But that's not on here, though.
No, that's not on there.
It's not included.
The $85,000, that is in what we've already approved?
Yes.
And that did not...
They haven't been ordered yet.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But if we want to do this 170,000, that is not. So that's a decision we need to do. Is that on the agenda today for approval?
Yes.
Okay, whether we want to add another $57,000 to the budget, I wouldn't do it at this point. I mean, do we have to do that today?
The only issue, you don't have to. The only issue is that we have to do it with enough time to where we receive this equipment before the end of September, so it falls into this fiscal year and not next fiscal year. And then
can we buy that equipment in next year's fiscal year equipment list?
I would have to. The only issue is that the vehicles that they currently don't have, that don't have video cameras that are on patrol, they're mandated to have video cameras if they're doing that.
Oh, it's mandated.
Traffic stops.
So we have to do it.
So every vehicle that Cameron County has that is out on patrol has a video camera?
It's supposed to have
No.
I can't answer
That's my
that.
question.
I couldn't answer
Every
that question.
vehicle that we have that patrols has a video recorder camera in it? Yes or no?
I can't answer that question.
Well, the
I don't
sheriff
know.
is here, he can answer it.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, he could,
That's what we're going to transition cameras. That's what we're part of the cameras. We have requested the DHS and later on prison agents and then before that they added additional features of these particular digital cameras and maybe allow us to create information that
Sheriff, why don't you get, because of the public
I'm
that's
sorry, yes.
watching, they complain about us not getting you
Okay.
onto the mic.
Okay. No, my department does not have, we have 30 as of this time, okay, and we have about 56 vehicles out there. What we're waiting for, Judge and Commissioners, is to find out whether the court wanted to go this particular route or stay with the VHS. And if, once the court makes a decision, then Captain Javier Reina and myself are working to buy additionals through some of the fund nights so that we can be able to get additional cameras for our units.
So I guess the answer is no.
The answer is, all vehicles don't have it.
Not in the sheriff's office. I cannot answer for the constables.
This is just in reference to your department.
Yes, Commissioner.
And if we were to come up with these cameras, Sheriff, you couldn't help us with the, what is it, the recorder or the server, or what is it?
The server?
The server?
The server, in the estimated price that I gave is included in that, I believe.
Oh, it's a package?
Well, that's the way, I had asked the vendor, if we had went this route with digital, what our current system that we had in place be able to house this information, this software and the video. When they met with the computer department, they said, no, video takes up a lot of memory. So they would have to actually get a separate server and with enough storage that it was last, I believe, when I spoke with the vendor, 3 to 5 years, I think is what it was. So that was included in the price to get a total cost of what it would be to convert from VHS to digital. And that's only for these. As each year, I guess, progresses or they need to replace cameras, they would then start buying digital cameras and replacing them as needed.
We just keep that.
It's only money.
Yeah.
It's only money. Well, I think we ought to approve what we've already got, budget on the equipment list, which is the 85.2. I think we need to approve that. The 170,000, we can defer that, can't we? I mean, Sheriff, can we defer that? And just not do it?
Go with the VHS?
Just go with the VHS? And if we need to upgrade it later, I mean, we can.
What would it cost? I mean, what would be the difference if we wait and upgrade it at a later date?
I don't know.
In bringing, I mean, if we're trying to save money and in the end, when we have to convert it to a different server or system, are we actually going to be saving or are we going to be?
No, I don't think we are, Commissioner, from my perspective, if we do it that way. We had, at the very beginning, we had requested VHS, no question about it, but, you know, technology is always keep improving, and definitely, I don't know the fine features on it, but these are the type of cameras that can take a little more. We drive out on the rural roads and out on the border and what have you, and usually we have like a VCR which is sets in the trunk of the vehicle, and it takes a beating, okay? And sometimes you don't really get a clear, good picture. However, having a digital, which is a very advanced, then we get clear pictures. So that is one of the reasons that the officers, and when they met with the person mentioned, and Pizza Pulvera, you know, said this looks great and this is exactly what it is. Also, one of the other features that this particular digital camera has is that when the vehicle is out there rolling, and the vehicle is behind the unit is behind the vehicle, it starts, as my understanding, videotaping, 5 minutes before they even stop the vehicle that it may, in the process of stopping. Consequently, it's recording every single item that is there. And for us, that is a great, against liability. Plus, it's always accessible to us. And I think if the court would like to hear more features on that, the gentleman that is, I think he is the representative or the owner of that particular digital camera, can explain the other features that it may have. It's up to the court to decide which way they want to go.
Well, there's no doubt digital is better, but how many people in this room have expensive digital TVs? They're expensive. I mean, you get a better quality picture, but not everybody can afford it. I mean, can you do the job with the VHS? That's what you originally wanted, right?
Yes, sir.
And right now, we're looking at adding another $57,000 to the budget, and I don't know if it's gonna cost what. Would it cost more later to make the change? I mean, how much more? Yeah, please.
There is no conversion from analog to digital at that point in this fashion. That is, take all these boxes, remove them, and replace them all the way. The reason that the digital platform has come to pass was because in our high heat area, which we have the best of it, we can't make them last in the field. The reason we've talked so much about digital is because of the rugged part, the heat part, and the easily accessible information. Right now, we have to do a situation where we're going to find out something in an 8-hour tape where that guy's been out on patrol or he hasn't turned it in, come in for several many days. We have to physically go through every minute of tape to find out what that atmosphere is, whatever that challenge was, whatever that situation was. With this, we eliminate all these man-hours of chasing that by punching the button, saying the time or the officer or the car or whatever, and research that from a county-wide basis, if you will. Also gives us better direct information for the DA's office, for all kinds of prosecution. Also protects the officer in a big way. The VHS platform had its life, and it was good. We had beta once upon a time before that. The digital platform takes us up to where we need to be and gives us a lot more information at our fingertips. So not only does it eliminate time, it gives us better evidence by far, and it gives us a much better picture, which again is an evidence situation. Take all that aside, we have to have recorders in the cars. There's no question about that. State law requires that. Under the circumstances, if you have to buy equipment twice in order to come up to the technology, that's a great expense. So again, that's the court's decision.
So are we talking about $85,200 for System A and $170,000 for System B? Or is it $170,000 plus the $85,000?
It's the difference, yes. It is the difference.
So then it wouldn't be $57,000 more per year. It would be the difference. Is that correct, Javier? I mean, I want to make sure that I'm hearing the right thing.
The total was around 260, right?
This leaves the 160, which is the additional.
Oh, so that's the 170, so the 170 is the increase.
Difference.
Yes.
That is the difference. So it is $57,000 more per year.
That's the additional.
That would be the additional.
Plus this expenditure.
Well, it's 85.2 plus 170.
No,
right?
It's 99, 160.
99.
That's correct.
Committed to 85.
We've already committed to 85, so we're talking about adding 170,000 more.
Yeah.
Which would be about 57,000 for the next 3 years.
Well, can we add that to next year's equipment list?
Yeah, you can,
Well, we can do anything.
Instead of buying it now?
Where we're at it, we're talking about what we're paying
yeah,
next year.
you'd have to you'd have to defer it
Defer the whole purchase.
until that time. To defer to next year.
What is the time frame that we have to have all these vehicles in compliance? And if you tell me we're already late, then we're already late, because we've got 36 vehicles out there without it.
It's now, Judge, it has been like that in place.
But this is not going to equip all the vehicles, right? All the remaining vehicles?
Not from the sheriff's department,
So we're
okay?
still in non-compliance.
We're still in
No matter what we do
non-compliance.
today, we're still non-compliant,
You're correct.
right? Okay.
That's right.
Do we get fined by the vehicle or by the?
Well, I don't know whether,
I don't know.
but it's
I'm
a
asking.
requirement. It's in the penal code.
Okay.
But it is a mandate?
Yes, it is, Commissioner.
They don't buy Cadillacs, man. They buy Fords.
So you're asking for 19 video cameras for your units, and you have how many vehicles, Sheriff?
We have approximately about 57 vehicles that are out there.
And 30 already have them.
At 30, as my understanding, we already have 30. We're asking for an additional 19, and we have talked about buying additional cameras to see how much money we have from the Fund 90 to get some of the other cameras, if at all possible. However, like I stated a minute ago, we're waiting to see which direction that the court was going to go, whether it's going to be VHS or the digital cameras. Once we do that, then we'll know how much money we have and how many additional cameras we can purchase.
You know, I just don't think we can afford the Cadillac. We can afford the Ford or the Chevy, and I think we just go with what we can afford right now, which is the VHS, which is what the original proposal was. And so now it's something different, more and improved. If we had the money, I think, great, we would do it, but we gotta go with what we can afford.
Well, I wouldn't mind the 14,000 difference. My concern is 170,000.
That's correct.
How's the cost broken down based on cameras versus the server and the software, and how many more cameras would this server and software service in the future?
Well, because this proposal was 85.
Without, as I mentioned, the actual method of purchase hasn't been approved by the court, and I guess without divulging that, I can provide that. I don't have the actual percentage. I would say, the actual server, included in the price was also installation and training and things of that nature. So the actual server itself was less than 10% of the total cost.
So the big bulk of it's really
The cameras
themselves.
It's the cameras that cost, it's top of the line.
Do I hear a motion, or do we have to talk about it some more?
I'd love to get this, but, that's a lot of money. Here we go, adding more. The number's getting bigger.
Do I hear a motion to
I
approve?
wouldn't have a problem if we were to delay this and include the amount in next year's equipment list.
When you say next
What's
year,
the
in the in the '08 budget,
Yeah, usually the equipment list will come to the court around November for approval, and then after that, the departments start purchasing items. Usually the vehicles, patrol vehicles are usually the first thing that come because of the timeline that they need to order. We start receiving them throughout the year, and then the first payment is the following year.
If we can delay, I think it's inevitable that we move to this technology, because it needs to occur. I think it's important. But I think that it's kind of hard to plan to spend $170,000 that's unplanned for again right now, for me anyway. I would be willing to consider doing this project as early on in the next fiscal year's equipment list and delaying the purchase of the cameras to then. Delay this and the server, and be that first item that you put on the equipment list to fund. And if it's November, well, it's really not that far off.
okay, do I hear a motion to table then? Oh, you made the recommendation.
Well, but can the motion be to,
I don't think we can commit to next year's budget, but you can table it, and we just discuss it amongst ourselves to add it to next year's equipment list.
So what you're saying is you'd rather wait and go with the
I'd rather-
Cadillac version?
well, I don't think it's a Cadillac version. I disagree. I think it's just a newer technology, and sooner or later, we're gonna have to go to that, because it's kind of like the Beta. The Beta's history. It's not around anymore. they quit servicing, they quit selling, they quit fixing recorders, and, you know, it's gonna move into the digital. If we can delay 4 months and go the route of the digital, it's just like the newer technology, and in the long run, it'll probably end up costing less than buying video now, or VHS now, and then converting over.
So far, you've already spent some money, and then you're gonna go back and spend some more. If we did that, that's what you're saying.
If we did that, we could
Yeah.
include the other amount needed for the server and all of that part in next year's equipment budget, and then utilize what we don't spend this year, you know, as a carryover for funding the 99,000.
Let me clarify something. Sheriff, was this wishful thinking, or did I hear you say that if we went ahead with this, you're asking for 19, but you'd still have some cars that wouldn't have it?
That's
Right?
correct, Commissioner.
And you said that if this was approved, then you would go ahead and buy the rest?
No, I said, we will try, not for the rest of the vehicles, I said, because we have 30, which is the VHS, and then we got 19, that gives us 49. I don't have that kind of money, Commissioner. There's
So
no
it
that kind.
was wishful
I was
thinking
just gonna
on my
try
part.
to see how many more cameras we could buy with what we have, okay? And because we'll have about maybe another 9 or 10 vehicles that we have to put some cameras in, and that's what I was looking at.
I will move that we table it, but make sure that we consider this first in next year's equipment list with the inclusion of this request plus what is needed to support
To upgrade.
these cameras in the digital format.
I'll second that.
Okay, it was moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 38, discussion and possible action on temporary contract negotiations regarding the performance of autopsies for Cameron County. We have a report.
Judge, Commissioners, last week the DA came before the court recommending a contract agreement for autopsy services and other services by a forensic pathologist. I spoke to that forensic pathologist, Dr. Farley, on Monday, yesterday. She was out all last week on vacation, and she's provided some information to us, and I've given that to our legal division. She still needs to give us further information on what pricing she will have. The issue here is she's being called by the district attorney's office to provide expert testimony and in essence is billing the county. So we need to put a contract agreement in place with her. So as soon as we have all that information, we'll get it to legal division and put that together.
So you'll probably have that next week? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we should.
Table this till that
As soon as she
time, or
gets
till you get the information.
Do I hear a motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 39, discussion and possible action regarding the county property that is being vacated when the Harlingen Annex is open.
Judge and Commissioners, you should have in front of you an aerial map that shows the property that the county owns in Harlingen. Then the second page, we've got another map indicating the lots that we own. I received a call last week regarding lots 9 and 10. A realtor wanted to know if the county was interested in selling that property. We're probably going to begin moving into the Harlingen Annex, in the next 60 days or so. And so I just need to get some direction from the court if we want to move forward and start the process on selling these two properties, or if y'all still want to hold off until we have a more firm schedule on the transition into the new annex building.
I think this court was committed to making sure we brought that money into the coffers as quickly as possible when we moved out of there. And I think we ought to consider whatever process we need to go by to select someone to sell this property for us.
I would just recommend to the court that if we sell this property, or when we sell this property, that money is used to buy something of a fixed asset nature, and not stick it and use it for operations. I think, again, that's a one-shot deal, and next year we may have a problem funding it, so if there's something else out there we want to buy, maybe some land or something for future development or
How
growth.
about fund balance?
Or fund balance, wherever we want to put it. I mean, I just
Yeah.
don't want to stick it into current operations to spend it, okay? So I think proceed forward, find somebody that can help us sell the
What is
buildings, or
the
put it for
process?
sale, or go to Home Depot and get a for sale by owner sign, just stick it up there.
What is
the
the
thing is-
process, though?
Real estate people and some individuals have called my office, and I have referred them to your office, and to John Serra is supposed to be the gentleman that's in charge of this. So, I mean, the interest is there. The interest is there already, so I think, you can move forward and see if we can get it done as soon as possible.
Do we already have an appraisal on that property?
I don't think we do.
Well, would it be out of order for us to ask for requests from different realtors?
Well, I think we should, because, I mean, they do get commission, and now if they all come in at 6%, well, then...
Yeah, but with a marketing plan associated with what they want to do, though.
You want to RFQ it out?
The call you had, was that someone interested in, a realtor that had someone interested in purchasing it at the time already?
Yes.
2 lots.
Well, we can always negotiate with them and have the buyer pay the commission to the realtor.
Yeah.
Commissioners and Judge, I'd like to look into this because currently, right now, we have two methods of selling land, and that's either through a public auction or a sealed bid. I think there's the other option. I think we can go through a realtor, but I'm not real familiar with that statute, and I'd have to look at it. We've tried to sell these particular lots before, so I do think there might be an appraisal on it because we went through an auction and I think a sealed bid, and it didn't move. But I can search on seeing if we already have an appraisal and whether or not, what the process is for using a realtor.
Well, and we need to make sure I would not want to sell the other 2 lots unless we know that they don't decrease the value of the total amount of property because they are adjacent to each other.
Well, the good news is that there's interest, because I don't know about the rest of you, but I've been getting calls, and I've been referring them to Pete.
Okay, do I hear a motion then?
I move that we RFQ it, maybe? Would that be in order?
Can we do that, Sylvia?
Well,
I'm not real sure yet exactly how it works with the realtor, but we can bring back in 1 week and
I
let
will
you know
make the
exactly.
motion, with pending legal approval. That way,
What is it that we want to RFQ out? Is it
Yeah.
solicit qualifications from real estate agents? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
Okay. I heard a motion by Commissioner Gatsa to request for qualifications from, but is it a qualification or is it a proposal?
it's a professional
Why-
service, so it's a qualification.
why can't we just have our county administrator move forward with the ones that are already showing interest?
Yeah, I think what Sylvia said is we may have to get a sealed bid, or you're going to look into that?
There's two methods right now that I'm very familiar with, and that's either the public auction or a sealed bid, and that's through just the court itself decided. You could appoint a commissioner to handle it, and we would publish notice that, we're trying to sell this lot, and we're going to sell it for fair market value. We can even put the minimum bid if we were going to go through a public auction. I'm not real familiar with the statute on
Well,
allowing...
why don't we do this? Why don't we just table it? Why don't we just table it for a week, and then maybe that'll give you some time to look at it?
And bring back a recommendation.
Because I'm thinking that maybe what I'd do,
Your
just put an
interest is
ad.
in using a realtor.
Yeah,
Is
just
that
put
what
an
you're
ad in the newspaper saying sealed bids will be accepted until such and such a day.
Exactly.
And we can always reject them if they come in low.
And you're going to save,
But let's give her a week to see what,
okay.
you want to do that?
Well, and again, though, I tend to believe that good realtors can market a particular piece of property, especially one that is in a high-traffic area like that. They might already have potential buyers, that are looking for that type of asset, and they can go and find them and bring in the folks that are willing to pay maybe a little more.
But how can they, but let me ask you, and I think that's a good point, but how can they circumvent the sealed bid statute?
Well, how
They
about
wouldn't.
fair market
There's
value?
several methods. I mean, you can do the public auction or the sealed bid, and I'm pretty sure that you can also use a Realtor. So, I mean,
Fair
it's just
market
a
value.
matter of me looking into that
Okay, so
procedure.
then,
We'll table it.
table it for a week and have her get back to us, okay? Motion by Commissioner Gatsa, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Benavides to table this item for a week. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 40, consideration approval of a loan from the settlement proceeds to Project Roadmap.
I passed out a map, listing the different projects that we're currently working on, along with the funding that's necessary between now and the end of the fiscal year. As y'all recall, I believe it was last week or the week prior to last, we passed a reimbursement resolution. And so this amount of funds will get us through, the end of December.
And why would this be a loan?
It's an interim loan, from the settlement proceeds. Once we sell bonds for Project Roadmap, we'll reimburse, the funds that we're borrowing.
Okay.
All right, do I hear a motion for approval?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item 41, discussion and possible action regarding the Cameron County Department of Health and Human Services prenatal program.
Judge, Commissioners, good evening. If the court will recall, back in this past June, our office was notified that the prenatal program grant funds as provided by the Texas Department of State Health Services would no longer be available starting September 1, 2007. This is my third presentation to give the court an update, and I'm basically giving a court an update from what transpired this past Tuesday. This past Wednesday, on July 25th, our office received an email containing information as outlined in this letter. I believe the court has it dated July 25th, 2007. The email basically had the same information that's in here. And the email stated that the Texas Department of State Health Services was currently reassessing their position that they would no longer provide these grant funds. So it appears that they might be providing some grant funds for FY 2008 and possibly FY 2009. The information for 2008 is contained in the second paragraph, and the information for 2009 is in the third paragraph. At this point, we don't know from this email or on this letter what that means financially to Cameron County. In the past, we had been receiving $524,000 in grant funds, and we're hopeful that we will receive either that amount or something similar that will allow us to continue the prenatal program. Then the following day, on Thursday, July 26th at 7 p.m., Commissioner Garza and I both hosted a meeting at the San Benito Annex where we invited the volunteer physicians, the hospital representatives, and key staff within our department to discuss the prenatal program and how we could work together to provide the funds for FY 2008. There was a lot of good discussion between the hospitals and our staff and the volunteer physicians. The hospitals were requesting that the general funds, the portion of the general funds provided by Cameron County that was usually targeted towards the prenatal program, instead of having those $500,000 to be utilized during a 12-month period, they were requesting that Cameron County front it for the initial 4 months, and then the hospitals would evaluate it the following month on the 5th month. However, Judge Gastos was also present at that meeting, and he explained the process of cash flow and how the county auditor would have to certify revenues, so that was probably not something that the county could possibly follow. And so the hospital's committed to working with Cameron County and possibly funding any shortfalls that we might have for our prenatal program. So we were supposed to continue to work with the hospitals, and they are very interested in continuing the prenatal program. The following day, on Friday, July 27th, as luck would have it, county officials participated with Operation Lone Star in San Juan, and it was a VIP day. And so what that meant for us was it gave Judge Cascos the opportunity to talk to, and I'm going to read it from here, the Texas Department of State Health Services Associate Deputy Commissioner of Family and Community Health Services. This person is a key decision maker with our prenatal grant funds. So Judge Cascos, if I may, spoke to this Associate Deputy Commissioner and voiced his concerns with the lack of prenatal grant fund programs, and told this Deputy Commissioner to get their checkbook ready. So, so we are very, very hopeful that we have applied for funding through the Valley Health Service District, and we hope to get some funds through there. It's possible that the state will give us some finances through the grant that they have in the past. We don't know, again, what the dollar amount is in that possibility, but in the end, the hospital said that they would help us be our safety net. So we're just going to continue to work with all these partners and try to fund the prenatal program starting September 1.
And I think it's really important, Yvette, that we encourage strongly the people that we serve to register and become enrolled in the Superior Health Plan, because that's the only way we'll get any money coming in.
Yes, Commissioner. The Superior Health Plan, there's really two ways where in the future the county will theoretically get funds, and that's through Medicaid or through the Superior Health Plan, and then that will allow the state to transition out of the grant funds. And there was some discussion on the hospitals and the volunteer physicians and our county officials on how we can work together to ensure that they either apply for Medicaid or through the CHIP perinatal program. So, yes, it's very important that we do stress that.
For the commissioners that were not there, I think it's important to note that it's basically a transition from a grant to the county to provide the services to state-supported health plan that we have to now become providers for as a county, which is what we approved 3 weeks ago, I believe, today.
Yes, Commissioner.
You know, and we become billers. We start having to do what regular offices do, and we bill for services that our certified nurse practitioners and physicians, volunteer physicians, provide to these women. But there's a period of time between the time you start billing and you start receiving, and some of the physicians present at the meeting said sometimes between 3 to 6 months that you don't see any money coming in. And that's the safety net that Yvette is talking about, in making sure that we can continue operations in that time.
During that window of time.
Right, when we start going through that billing process to Superior Health Plans.
And in the future, we're going to, instead of relying on the grant funds, we're going to rely more on the Superior Health contract, because our problem is that for those individuals that make less than 100% federal poverty level, we are not allowed to charge them for any services. So we have not been able to build up, a savings revenue type of an account, because we're not allowed to charge them for anything. And that's pretty much the population that we have been serving in the past. But now our focus is going to be to try and get them on the Superior Health CHIP perinatal program and go through that instead of the state grant funds. But still, it looks very, very positive for us to continue these services.
I think we have a real good opportunity and a chance to get funded the full
Well, and that would be good. That way we could start doing the billing and start moving into the provider services arrangement. And I
Well,
think...
she was gonna cut the check, but she was out of checks, so.
I
She
think
ran.
I think there was one thing that they said, and I think this is for Dilvia's information more so, on the contract that we approved with Superior Health Plans in regards to the coverage on the 24 hours, some of those issues that you had when that contract came before us. And there is a simple instrument that the hospitals, and evidently all of the hospitals have with home health agencies, with physicians' offices, with any type of medical provider that needs one, is they become the safety net on that 24-hour window through a memorandum of understanding with them. So I hope that, Yvette, you would bring that to Dilvia sometime so that I can alleviate that concern that was brought to us, and we'll move on.
And they also said they weren't meeting the insurance liability.
Right.
The $1 million that was being asked, and we told them, well, read your contract, because that's what, being asked of everyone, but still, we're gonna try and get that changed for Cameron County, to protect Cameron County.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Thank you.
Positive report.
Do I hear a motion to acknowledge Yvette's report?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Last item, discussion and possible action regarding the county, state, and federal legislative agenda.
Judge, Commissioners, just a couple of items. Today, we got word that the WRDA bill, which is the Water Resources Development Act, was moved out of conference committee without the language to deauthorize the Arroyo Colorado, which is something we've been working on for a while, so that'll help in the levee projects that we're working on. We also received word a few days ago from our delegation, Representative Hinojosa and Representative Ortiz, that we were going to get, well, there's $50,000 in the Commerce Justice State appropriations bill for inoperable communication systems. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll look at that as it moves along. That's about it for now.
Thank you. Motion to acknowledge report.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Tamayo, seconded by Commissioner Gatsa, to acknowledge Mr. Garcia's report on the state and federal legislative agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. God save this honorable court.